Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everybody. Second stream of the day. This one is dedicated to Maple Finance. We're going to have a look at everything Maple related as soon as the stream goes live. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike, and today we're going to go and have a deep dive into Maple Finance. Now, the last time we did this was the 8th of September. So we've got 2 weeks worth of Maple Finance and Syrup content to go through. We're streaming on YouTube and we're streaming on Binance Square. So wherever you are, say hello, and we will try and pick up some of the messages. And as you can see, we are even wearing the Maple Finance merch because we are part of Maple Finance. We are an ambassador of Maple Finance, and that is why we are here today. So what we're going to get through today, we are going to first of all go through the Maple Finance website, explain to you a little bit about who Maple Finance are. If you've never heard of them, their token is listed on Binance. Their two tokens actually are listed on Binance. They have Syrup and Syrup USDC. Both of them are listed on Binance. We're then going to talk about June analytics. We're going to go and have a look at Maple Finance's performance over the last 12 months, pretty much. We're then going to have a look, and these are two big deals, okay? The Cantor Fitzgerald deal for me was massive, absolutely huge. But Plasma and Arbitrum, the two newest, biggest deals, they have both been in the last couple of weeks. In fact, since we did our last stream. So they're going to be covered. Then we're going to have a look at the charts and finish with our conclusion. So that is the plan for today's stream. I have literally finished streaming. Give me 1 second. There we go. I literally finished streaming about half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago. So I wanted to have a little bit of a break, get some coffee, and then we can get through this. Again, as I said, I am live on Binance Square. Only Cryptos, good morning to you. I hope you are well. And of course, we're on YouTube, and I think on YouTube we have a few people over there as well. Bullish Bull and Hidden Agendas. I hope you're all right. Let's get into it though. Let's not sit here messing around. Let's go and have a look at the Maple Finance website. And again, if you are familiar with our streams, then you'll know we did this 2 weeks ago. Now, we have a lot of people that come onto the Maple Finance videos that we do over on YouTube and ask us to basically update everybody on Maple Finance, and it's pretty much impossible to do in video form. And I'd show you the notepad document of all the different Maple Finance videos that I'm supposed to make, because I want to make them, and I can't keep up. I'd be making 2 to 3 videos a week. It's impossible. So the plan is that every 2 weeks I'm going to do a live stream, and the reason I do the live stream on YouTube is so the video is there for people to watch, to catch up with everything on Maple Finance. And of course we stream on Binance because we stream on Binance. That's why we stream there, and we're more than happy to, you know, people to comment on the stream, and we can reply to them. So we're going to start off with the website. Now, this has changed in a pretty dramatic way, and the reason it's changed in a pretty dramatic way is this: the Maple Finance asset under management has broken $4 billion. When we did this 2 weeks ago, I think it was $3.8 billion. And now Maple themselves have called themselves between a project and its token price. And the reason that there is a disparity, just give me 1 second. Make sure the stream comes back up. There we go. Fantastic. There is a massive discrepancy between a token's value and a project's value. And sometimes, for example, with Ondo, the value of the project is maybe higher. Sorry, the value of the token is maybe higher than the value of the project. and it tends to be based more on the future value of a company, the potential of a company, rather than the nuts and bolts value of a company. And I would say the same thing applies to Maple Finance at the other end of the scale, where the value of the company, the size of the company, the growth of the company is not matched at this moment in time by the value of the token. And what tends to happen is there is a catch-up period where the value of the token will increase over time to then keep up with the project value. You're never going to end up with a company worth $100 billion and a token value of $1 billion. What I'm saying is that there are bands, and the value of Maple compared to the token price is at the bottom of that band. There's a lot of growth potential in the value of the token, whereas Ondo is at the opposite end of the band. It's at the top of the band, and for me, Ondo is a great project. I love Ondo. I've made videos about Ondo. For the last 2 years, I've made videos about Ondo. I'm not knocking them. I'm just giving you a comparison where the token value of one project is at the top end, so maybe the token is overvalued, and I'm going to give you an example of a project where the token, in my opinion, is undervalued. That's what the comparison is that I'm trying to make. I am not comparing one to the other because it's apples and pears. They're both fruit. Maple Finance and Ondo are both fruit, but they're not the same fruit. They revolve in different markets. They grow from different trees, but they're still fruit. They're still connected in the category of real-world assets. Okay? Maple Finance is more to do with financial lending, whereas Ondo is more to do with tokenization of real-world assets. OSUG and, of course, USD, whatever it one's called. OUSG and USDY, something like that. Anyway, doesn't matter. We're not here to talk about Ondo. We're here to talk about Maple. So, the first thing I want to go through very, very quickly, good morning, Max. The first thing I want to go through very, very quickly is the products offered by Maple Finance. Now, again, some of you have been here before, some of you see these live streams before, and I do appreciate that I am going over old content, but I have to make this for people who aren't here, so I have to keep an eye on Binance Square, have to keep an eye on YouTube. Now, Maple is more than an individual product. There is a very important categorization of Maple now that we have the Genius Act in America. Now we have the stablecoin legislation in America. The dollar product that Maple Finance offers is not a yield-bearing stablecoin. It cannot be called that anymore. It is a yield-bearing asset. Now, another delineation for me to explain to you is if this token has $100 million worth of assets and there are $100 million worth of Syrup USDC, then the value will be 1. If there are $150 million worth of assets, then the value of that $1 will be $1.50. That is how it works. So it is not a yield-bearing stablecoin. It cannot be called that anymore because stablecoins in America are not allowed to offer yield. So we have to now look at different ways to call it. A liquid yielding dollar is one way. I like to call it a liquid yielding asset. Tomatoes, but it's not a stable coin. This is the first product that they offer, and the target yield is about 7%. Now, there are other targets of 6.4, 6.7 and 7% for this, but this is their flagship product, and we're going to look at that when we go look at June. You're going to see why it's the flagship product, but that's offering 7%. Believe it or not, this isn't my favorite product of theirs. This will be my favorite product when we move into the bear market, but for now, this is not my favorite product. This is a list of their other products that they offer. They have a high yield deposit which pays 10.1%, and a blue chip paying 6.7%. But my favorite product is and always will be their Bitcoin yield product. This is offered in partnership with CoreDAO. And the way this works is CoreDAO has what's called dual staking, where you stake your Bitcoin and you stake your core. And if you stake the correct balance of each, you can earn 4 to 6%. Now you can do this. You can do this yourself. You can go there. You can get the wallet. You can connect up. You can bring your Bitcoin across. You can bring across your core tokens. You can do this yourself. That's a lot of work. However, it can be done. Now, what Maple have done is they have created an automated version of that. But, and this is a big but, you need to stake 25 Bitcoin to take advantage of this. Now that, as today's prices, is about what? For argument's sake, let's say $3 million. So you need $3 million to tap into this, and that's difficult. If you are Mags in chat and you have 0.1 Bitcoin, you can take that 0.1 Bitcoin over to CoreDAO today. You can bring across the core tokens, you can stake both, and you can replicate this. But Maple and CoreDAO have a partnership where Maple leverages the size of Maple to generate the yield off the Bitcoin that is staked. Now, another important fact, this is non-custodial yield. You don't hand over your keys to CoreDAO. You keep them in your wallet. So you never lose your Bitcoin. It's always yours. And for me, I made a video about the top ways to earn yield on Bitcoin. Probably made that about 5-6 months ago. And I compared the different options. I looked at Lombard, I looked at Maple and CoreDAO, I looked at many other things. And CoreDAO for me is 10 out of 10 for yield, but maybe 4 or 5 out of 10 for ease of use. It's not an easy thing to do. I've looked at it several times. Once you get the hang of it, by all means, it's brilliant. But this, for me, this is my favorite product that Maple Finance offer, above everything else. Now, again, over time, when we get to my conclusion, I'm going to give you some conclusions on what I think Maple are going to do in the future. And one of that involves their Bitcoin product. But for me, anyway, these are the products that they offer. So a liquid yielding dollar, they've also got high yield, got blue chip, and they've got Bitcoin yield. They're the products that they offer. This is a breakdown of what they have had through their books. Almost $9.5 billion worth of loans, 100 different borrowers, 400 plus loans, and the funding time is 24 hours. How can they do this in 24 hours? Very simply put, they have been around for a long time. They are like the elves, okay? They've been around a long time. They've lived through the bear markets. They've lived through the FTX crash. They have previous experience of this type of product in TradFi. They know what they're doing. If you can put up $1.5 million worth of Bitcoin, you're likely to get $1 million loan. Simple, okay? So they're very, very good at what they do. They're very, very experienced. They're a small team, but they know what they're talking about. And again, industry-defining transparency, solution for all, robust risk management, and global client support. And again, how do we know that this works? How do we know that these loans don't get defaulted? How do we know that you don't lose your assets? Over the last 12 to 18 months, we have seen multiple occasions where the price of Bitcoin has crashed. Most notably, most recently, we have seen the Donald Trump tariff war. During that, the price of Bitcoin tanked. Now, what happens is there are calls placed on your assets. When your assets are close to being liquidated, there is a call placed, and your option is that you close the position, you repay the loan, or you add more collateral. During those most recent dips back in March and May, not one single loan was liquidated. So this is stress tested, and it goes back beyond this year as well. So this is a stress tested company. They've been around long enough to know exactly what they are doing, and they leave enough margin to know what they're doing. Now, again, this is something which, had I not come into Maple Finance, I mean, we've been with them over a year now, I wouldn't probably be going into such depth on this company had I not done my research into them. That's something else to bear in mind. And again, if you've watched us for a while, you will know that I don't normally dig in too much to these types of products if I don't believe in them. If I don't believe in a product, I'm not going to cover it. So that's what they offer. And for me, the product is as good as anything else out there. Are they the market leader in what they do? Yes, they are. Are they one of the top, if not the top, real-world asset project in Web3? Yes, they are. Absolutely. So I can say that hand on heart without any hesitation. I wouldn't have said that 6 months ago, but they weren't this big. Now, I'll show you the growth of Maple Finance. And again, what's important here is you'll see this with pump and dumps, okay? Because this is what a pump and dump chart looks like. And it always makes me smile when I show people this chart, okay? I'm going to be honest. It always brings a smile to my face. If you showed me a chart in TradingView of a company with this performance, I would laugh, okay? Because the only times you see this exponential growth is when you look at, say, Trump or Melania or Libra or the Central African, the CAR token, where it was called. And what happens to those tokens? They go to zero, okay? So when you approach these charts, I fully understand just how incredible this chart looks. But, this is a big but, this is not a pump and dump chart. This is, very simply put, a business expanding in an expanding industry. So this is like a balloon inflating inside a balloon, or a cake in an oven, okay? The real world asset market is, for me, the number one category in crypto at this moment in time. In future years, maybe that becomes AI, okay? Maybe. TradFi and real world assets, that's where the money is. I mean, we can sit here as long as we want and talk about meme culture. We can talk about that as much as you want. But at the end of the day, bringing traditional finance to crypto, tokenizing it, bringing TradFi onto Web3, removing all of the friction to then allow people to be able to use these products. If this product existed 5 or 10 years ago outside of crypto, you wouldn't be able to come near this. I'd be having a different conversation. I'd be saying you need a minimum of $100,000. You're going to need KYC. You're going to need AML. You're going to need expert investor questionnaires, all this kind of stuff. Of course, Web3 removes friction from access to the average person. So, Hidden Agendas in chat comes along with $100. Hidden Agendas can go and buy Syrup USDC and earn 7% on that. Hidden Agendas can come along and he can buy the Syrup token at 40 cents. Maybe it grows to $1.20 and he 3x's his money. We don't know. But the point of the matter is, before Web3, if Hidden Agendas called up his bank manager and says, I would like to buy $100 worth of syrup, or I want to convert $100 into $100 of Syrup USDC, without Web3, how would that actually happen? He'd have to go through a brokerage. It would have to be a stock. And that would involve a transaction fee. I mean, the most I've ever paid for a transaction fee was £60. And that was on a £1,000 or £2,000 transaction. It was ridiculous, okay? So it wasn't possible until now to do this. And removing friction from this kind of industry, it adds to the existing industry players, but it also creates opportunity for new industry players, such as Maple Finance. As I said, if you asked me, let's go back here. If you asked me back on the 30th of March 2024, was Maple Finance the leading real-world asset project in the world? I would have said absolutely not. If you'd have asked me in 23rd. These dates right? Yes. If you'd have asked me on the 5th of January, are they the world's leading real world asset or asset under management player, I'd probably still say no. They've moved from 400 million to almost 4.1 billion. So they've 10x'd in that period of time. And how have they 10x'd? They've 10x'd through the growth of this orange section here. Now the orange section here, we're going to call it Syrup USD. We're not going to call it Syrup USDC or Syrup USDT because there are two different products. The actual core product is called Syrup USD. This is the product that has grown beyond anybody's imagination. And this product, as of today, is worth almost 3/4 of the total of assets under management. It's their flagship token. And again, we can follow this back and you can see the growth of the different areas here on the chart. You know, you can see the black area here, you can see the purple area here, you can see the green area up here and the blue area up here, but the orange area is the one that's really taken off, and that's Syrup USD. And that's really because this is the product that will really work as a liquidity product in the market. It's minted, it's in different locations, we've covered it before. People can buy that product and hold that product in a treasury, and it will grow 6 or 7% a year. And if you have $100,000 and you've got it in Tether or Circle and you want to convert it into a liquid yield asset, you would look at Syrup USD or Syrup USDC, and that would then earn you a passive 6 or 7%. The value of that $100,000 in your wallet would grow, and you wouldn't have to do anything. You don't have to go and claim it from anywhere. It just grows in your wallet. So if you're on Binance and you've got $100,000 and it's sitting there in Tether or Circle or FUSD, convert it into Syrup USD and you'll passively earn 7%. That's just how it works. So that's the first thing that we want to cover on here, and that's the growth of the company. It's exponential. Now, as I keep warning people about, at some point, that growth is going to plateau. Now, that might not be October, November this year. That might not even be June next year, but it might be the end of next year. The growth will plateau. Nothing goes up forever. But the question is, where is it going to plateau? My target for the end of this year was about $5 billion asset under management. My target for summer next year is $10 billion asset under management. And we're at $4 billion in September. We've still got 3 months for them to hit $5 billion. So let's say they go to $6 billion by the end of the year. By the middle of next year, they could be at 12 to 15 billion. I could be wrong. But my bullish targets were made when they were at 1 and 2 billion. So I think the growth is going to continue for some time yet, but it is going to plateau. They're going to mature. All markets mature. They're going to mature. Maybe they mature a lot higher. Maybe they mature at 100 billion, but they will mature. Now, the next thing to bear in mind for me is this chart here. This is the monthly protocol revenue. This is the fee or the fees that they make after they have paid out the interest. It's the amount of money that they make after they have paid the 7% on Syrup USDC. So this is their net revenue, not gross revenue. And what's important here is to look at what they did in what they did in August, July, and June. They broke $1 million in 3 consecutive months, and they are currently probably on target actually to smash $1 million again this month. Don't forget there's 30 days in September, 31 in August, so they might come in a little bit lower than last month. Maybe they come in a little bit higher, but the point of the matter is they're bringing in $1 million plus per month consistently, and that's on a very small team. So that allows them to do a lot of other things, a lot of growth potential. And I think that's where you need to focus on. This chart up here is great. The growth of the company is fantastic. The growth of the assets under management is fantastic. But none of this means anything if these numbers down here are nowhere near these numbers. If they're bringing in $100,000 or $200,000 a month, and there's 5 of them, and they're all getting paid $20,000 a month, $10,000 a month, their money's gone on wages and hosting and development and server fees. So what you're looking for here, and we don't know this number by the way, what we're looking for here is out of this revenue, I imagine they're rolling the majority of this back into the company for expansion. Maybe they're taking on more risk management employees, maybe they're taking on more biz dev, maybe they're taking on more conferences, maybe they're taking on more booths at different conferences, whatever it might be. This is their war chest. This is the money that they're making. Now, as I said, if they've got 10 employees and they're earning $30,000 a month each, that's $300,000 a month out the door. That's going to leave them with $1 million a month, every month, to go and take on video content, social media content, advertising, business development, outsourcing the advertising. That makes me sleep easy at night. If you look further down here, they probably weren't making too much excess cash up until this period of time here. So we're not going to see this really ramp up maybe for another couple of months. Maybe November, December is where we see it really ramp up. But we've already got some absolutely incredible deals over the line. The Cantor Fitzgerald deal is top tier. The fact that Sid went to the White House or went to Washington to take part in the very first DeFi summit with the American administration. He was at that first meeting, okay? So this isn't a small company, that's not a small amount of revenue, and that isn't small growth. I've got to keep my eye on time as well, make sure everybody's in here. Do I drink maple late at night for high yield? Absolutely I do. That is exactly what I do. So again, very bullish on this, but we're not here to just look at a chart. We are here to look at some of the deals. And again, project value, token value, there's always a disparity between the two, especially in Web3. Projects can be overvalued, projects can be undervalued. This is one. I made this a little bit bigger for you to see on your screen. Maple brings Syrup USDT to Plasma. Now, many of you probably do not know what Plasma is. I covered it a few weeks ago on the stream and said, you know, there's going to be a stable coin layer 2 coming. It's going to be operated by, I think, Tether. It looks really good. It's going to be like a payments layer. You know, I was expecting this to be 6 months off, and then it's gone live. Maple's product launched on here and took everybody by surprise. There was a $200 million allocation on Plasma. It sold out in 1 minute. $200 million in a minute. The appetite is massive. Now, I'm going to read through a little bit of this just to give you a little bit of a background. So Plasma is a new payments layer built for stablecoins. Plasma is a new blockchain launched by Tether to scale stablecoin adoption globally. It is purpose-built for USDT payments, settlement, and DeFi, positioning stablecoins as the core financial primitive of crypto. Maple's role, the institutional credit layer for Plasma. Maple is the leading institutional on-chain asset manager with over $9 billion in loans originated to accredited crypto-native companies. Plasma will be Maple's third new chain deployment and home of Syrup USDT. That's why I was calling it Syrup USD before, because there is USDT and USDC. By combining USDT liquidity with Maple's lending engine, Plasma and Maple together establish the institutional credit layer and the first yield-bearing asset on Plasma. This is the end game. This is the end game for Maple. This is where we're talking trillions for stable coins, not billions. Okay? Make no bones about that. We are going to have $1 trillion worth of stable coins within a very short space of time, maybe the next 12 months to 2 years. If you have a yield-bearing asset within the stablecoin ecosystem, where are people going to park their funds? They're going to hold Syrup. So the pre-deposit vault opens at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this has already come to pass. Maple and Plasma are launching a 200 million Syrup USDT pre-deposit vault to bootstrap liquidity with exclusive XPL rewards. $200 million, lock for 2 months, minimum deposit 125,000, accepted assets, USDT, USDC or Syrup USDT, permissionless access. This is gone in a minute. Okay, you've heard of gone in 60 seconds. This is gone in 40 seconds. It didn't even get to a minute. Now, there is more than one yield available on this. Now, we covered the fact that you get 7% on Syrup before. This is an addition. So you are going to get the XPL tokens. You are also going to get the Syrup USDT yield. You're going to get drips and a 50% boost on the drips. Drips is a rewards program from Maple, and at the end of each season, your drips get converted into Syrup tokens. So you're going to get that on top. You're then going to get the Plasma DeFi opportunities. You'll be able to earn yield once the mainnet goes live. Mainnet goes live with 2 billion of supply on day one. You can deposit there. How to participate? You go here. This is all run through Midas or Midas. You connect your wallet, you deposit it in. Plasma and Maple building stablecoin infrastructure. Again, this is probably the single biggest piece of news for me in September. So this is the headline for me. Now, we've streamed this on Binance a few times, and we have highlighted the fact that if you've got stable coins on Binance, if you've got cash on the side, you should be looking at using Syrup USDC on Binance because it pays you the 7%. But this increases the supply of Syrup. This increases the demand for Syrup, and this creates another market for Syrup. And every time every time Maple adds a new market, their company gets stronger. It's another brick in the wall. It's another layer. We have covered on the 8th of September stream that we did on Binance, we covered the Syrup pools on Camino Finance. We covered their connections up with Orca over there. We've covered Cantor Fitzgerald. We've covered their partnerships with CoreDAO before. Each of those partnerships makes Maple Finance a stronger business proposition, both internally and externally. Their ability to maintain this growth is limited only, in my opinion, by their imagination and where they want to take this product. Because stablecoin yield is banned. You are no longer allowed to take it under the Genius Act or the Stablecoin Act, whatever it's called, in America. So you have to look for alternative ways to generate yield. Tether can't generate it, Circle can't pay it out, okay? But Syrup USDT, Syrup USDC, that is where you can get your yield, in my opinion. Now, having Plasma as a partner is absolutely fantastic, but they haven't forgotten about the OGs in the space. And the OGs in the space are the other chains. They're on lots of different platforms. They're on Pendle, for example. We've just mentioned Camino Finance. They're on Solana, they're on Ethereum, and they're also on Arbitrum. Syrup USDC expands to Arbitrum. This is slightly older. This is about a week and a half old. Syrup USDC is live on Arbitrum. This was September the 3rd. It's expanding to Arbitrum. The launch introduces Maple's institutional grade yield one of DeFi's most active networks. This article covers how to get. Okay, right. Syrup USDC is available across Euler, Morpho, and Fluid, and is supported by Arbitrum's recently launched DRIP incentive program, with users now able to earn ARB rewards when borrowing against Syrup USDC. This feature compounds Maple's native yield by introducing an additional incentive layer. The total API can go as high as 35%. Now, again, I have very strict rules in crypto. Ever since the days of USTC and Tether and their stablecoin collapse, anything that pays me more than about 10%, 9-10%, I'm very, very wary of. And this doesn't fall under that. The plasma deal doesn't fall under that either, because the Syrup USDC yield is 7%. And that's sustainable. What isn't sustainable is a stable coin paying you 35%. So Athena, I think, was paying over 20% at one point. Not a fan of that. But in this instance, these are additional incentives. So in Plasma, we showed you the pre-XPL, TGE, we showed you the drips, we showed you lots of other things. In this instance, they have drips. So this yield, this additional yield, isn't coming from Syrup itself. So there are two ways you can get involved with this. You can go through Fluid or Arbitrum. You can use this as collateral, and they're the different options available to you. I'm not going to cover that too much because we're on Binance, and I think they kind of fall under the category of Binance, but this is more to do with Syrup today, so we're not here talking about Morpho. So that's the second one. I'm not going to spend as much time on that because I've got to be careful I don't run out of time. Now, we've already had we've already had 35 minutes. And we've still got the chart to do. Do we have anything else? Arbitrum, we've pretty much done that. Okay, we've got the chart to do and then my conclusions. Right, let's get the chart up and have a look at the actual chart. Remember, say hello in chat, as a few of you have done. Hello, Jacqueline, I hope you're well. Bibek, I hope you're well. I am good, yes. Now, we're going to look at the Syrup chart. Now, again, I said this, I think, on the stream I did on the 8th about this. When I tweet about Maple Finance, when I tweet about the company, I am not going to focus on the token. And there is good reason for that. And the reason is that there is a discrepancy between the token price, and this can be updated now, by the way. So this is now 4 billion. Okay, so we did this, I think, 2 weeks ago. Right. We don't really need that one. Get rid of that. Okay. So, what Syrup has done is, earlier this year, it was listed on Binance. I think April it got listed on Binance, maybe May, sometime around then. And absolutely had a storming run. Went up to about 60, I think it wicked to about 65 cents, something like that. And then since then, it's been on a decline. But that decline is not below where we were talking about Syrup maybe 5 months ago. Syrup was at 14 cents. Syrup went all the way up to 65 cents and has retraced down to 40 cents. Now, what's important about that is... Oops, wrong one. It was previous resistance has now become support. Okay? Syrup is now at a level which, if you go from 14 cents, 3x from 14 cents is about 42 cents. Okay, so 300% profit already if you held Syrup from when we got into it. Now, it's come back down to this level here at 40 cents, which, again, if we look at where we are, With a $2.2 billion asset under management, it wicked all the way up to about 65 cents. It's now at a $4 billion asset under management, so it's almost 100% more than it was at 65 cents, but the price of the token is at 40 cents. And this is where you want to look for problems in the market. Overvaluation versus undervaluation. Was the project overvalued at 65 cents at $2.2 billion? No, it wasn't overvalued at $2.2 billion. It's now come down, for argument's sake, 40%. It's come down to 40 cents. The value of assets under management has increased from 2.2 to $4 billion. The chart I showed you on June has gone exponential. So the price is not down because of the performance of the company. The performance of the company is outstripping a lot of the market. You can probably look at Hype, you can probably look at Asta as examples of projects where the token is probably trying to catch up with the value of the company, value of the business, value of the revenue and all that kind of stuff. Maple Finance, if Maple Finance was where it should be today, the token value should probably be, hang on a second, this is the value of the company right now, in my opinion. If it gets to 65 cents at 2.2 billion, it should be about $1.20 at 4 billion asset under management, if we're going to go off where it has been. Now, I don't like to do comparisons with Ondo, because Ondo is a slightly different product in a slightly different industry, slightly different market. Ondo has a market cap which is about 15 times higher than Syrup and Maple Finance, sorry. Maple Finance has a larger asset under management than Ondo. So in terms of business size, Maple Finance is bigger, but it's 13 times less market cap. Doesn't make sense. So there is a discrepancy between where these projects are. Now, maybe you could argue that Ondo is overvalued. Maybe Ondo is overvalued at $1. Maybe Ondo should be back at 40, 50 cents. Okay. But still, that would put it 5 times larger than Maple Finance. So if Maple Finance's token was to replicate it just based on assets under management and everything else, that would put Syrup at $2, which is 5x from here. Now in this bull run, which we don't have a lot of time left in, that line there, this is where the market takes off. We're getting awfully close. I would expect, and again, I can't guarantee this, it's not financial advice, I would guarantee pretty much in my head, not financial advice, that we will be looking at $1 a token for Syrup minimum by the end of October. Now, you might think that sounds astronomical. You might think that sounds really, really excessive. October is the most bullish month in crypto. Period. Bitcoin has only gone down one October in its history in the last 10 years, and that was 3 years ago. So Bitcoin is going up. Bitcoin is going to maybe $130,000 or $140,000. What do you think Syrup is going to do? It's already undervalued. What happens when it hits 5 billion assets under management or 6 billion assets under management? Do you honestly think that this token is just going to keep doing this? And the token price is still going to keep doing this? No. What's going to happen is somebody like Alex Becker or Crypto Banter or George or Crypto Face or Dan Crypto Trades or someone like that is going to come out and say, why is nobody buying Syrup? It's grossly undervalued. And then within about 2 weeks, this is going to be at $1. And I'm not going to sit here and do that because it's not my job. I'm just telling you what I think is going to happen. And we have got 3 weeks left before the start of the end game. And Maple is at 40 cents. It's already up 3x from the bottom, which was back in April. It's going to go to $1. Now, the question then is it going to go from $1 to $2? I think by the end of the bull run, we're looking north of $2. So if you're looking for the next big thing, if you're looking for a project that is likely to do numbers, then why are you looking at a meme coin? Why are you looking at some potentially brand new business that's got a $1 million market cap and you're going to think it's going to go to $1 billion? This is one of the safest bets in crypto, because guess what? If you've got a yield-bearing asset in a bear market, where do you think people are going to put their money in a bear market? They're going to put it in stable coins to keep the value. Why are you going to keep it in a stable coin when you can put it into syrup and earn 7%? So isn't the bear market exactly what syrup USDC is made for? Because if you push $10 billion into syrup, syrup will just go exponentially higher. So a bear market is actually better for syrup than a bull market, because in a bear market, people who want to sit on stables are going to want to sit on yield-bearing assets, which syrup is. So it's not for the faint-hearted, but what is? Anyway, that is enough of that. I am going to get on now with my conclusion. Just to say hello to a few people in here. Good morning to Tonboy. Hello, Moodle Hammam. I hope you're all well. Right, so now we've moved on from this. I am on full screen, I think. Let's close that chart down for a minute. Leave that. Go up here. Okay, so now I am on full screen and we can have a conversation. So I said that I was going to give you some conclusions. And what I'm going to do with my conclusions, I always get an itchy nose when I stream, and that's because I have a fan behind me, and for whatever reason, it must just blow dust past my nose. So I'm going to give you my conclusions for what I think is going to happen to syrup in the next 3 or 4 months, what's going to happen to Maple Finance in the next 3 or 4 months. Number one, I believe the token price is going to go north of $1. Absolutely, pretty much nailed on that. I think that's going to happen. Number two, they're going to break $5 billion assets under management by the end of October, not the end of the year. I think they might be on target for about $6 billion assets under management by the end of the year. If that happens, the token price is easily going to be north of $1.20, $1.30. So that's my first prediction. Assets under management are just going to keep going exponentially higher, at least for the next couple of months. Now, my favorite prediction is syrup BTC. I know nothing about this happening. I'm only going off what I believe is going to happen. They have syrup USDC, syrup USDT, and syrup USD is the name of the product. I believe they're going to launch syrup BTC, and I believe they're going to launch that with a flat rate of about maybe 2%. Now, Lombard have got LBTC, which pays 1%, which I think is incredibly low. I don't think it's very high at all. So I think syrup are going to come in at 2%, maybe 3%. The demand for syrup BTC will be astronomical. Now, why are they going to launch this product? Simply put, a 25 Bitcoin barrier to entry negates everybody outside of institutional investors. If they drop that to say half a Bitcoin, they'll be flooded with retail, which they don't want. So what did they do with institutional lending? They kind of wrapped it up in syrup USD. What are they going to try and do maybe to expand their Bitcoin offering? They're going to wrap it up in syrup BTC. So my second prediction is that they will launch by the end of the year, beginning of next year, they will launch syrup BTC. Now, again, I keep saying this is the third time I've said it. I don't know this is going to happen, but I think that is what's going to happen. So, the price of the token goes north of $1. They launch syrup BTC, and they will hit $5 billion by October, and therefore $6 billion by the end of the year. I then believe next year, as we get into maybe the elongated bull run, if that's the case, I think we're going to see $10 to $12 billion assets under management by June next year. At that point, the token is going to clear $2 to $3, in my opinion, at which point you have 6x to 7x your money. And that is as far out as I can see. Now, again, I'm not going to stay here too much longer. I've pretty much covered what I want to cover. Managed to do it in about 50 minutes, which I think is brilliant. To recap then, Maple Finance have now partnered with Plasma. Massive deal. Plasma is the stablecoin blockchain layer. It's a layer 2. Tether is there. Syrup is now there using Midle. I think it's an exceptional partnership. The Arbitrum launch, which was at the start of September, is now coming to fruition. Again, incredible partnership there. The token price is not reflecting the success of the company. That will come in time, okay? The time for altcoins is after the middle of October, going into November. That's when the altcoins will shine, and that's when you're all going to be Warren Buffett. So just bear that in mind. Now, I am going to go because I am back tomorrow morning on the stream. So I'm going to call this a day. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to Mags, Manjeet, Bullish, Hidden in chat. Thank you to the people watching on Binance Square. I hope you all have a great day. I will see you all in the morning. Take care.